Our Bible says that in one form or another we are all slaves. The question is answered in Breakfast Bible Bites Sanctification Part 7. What are you a slave to? Where Paul lays out the goal of our sanctification in Romans 6:19 through 22 when he writes, I am using a human analogy because of the weakness of our flesh. For just as we offered the parts of ourselves as slaves to impurity and to greater and greater lawlessness, so now we must offer them as slaves to righteousness, which results in sanctification. Several thoughts come to my mind, but before delving into them, I'd like to clarify something that is not made real clear in our English language. The word slave rightfully has negative connotations, but in biblical language, there are two distinct types of slavery, each with dissimilar supremacy. The first is that of a slave who is indentured against his will to do the bidding of his master or suffer the consequences. Our Bible articulates that we are all born into this world as slaves to sin, indentured to our inherited nature from Adam. The master of sin is Satan himself, and he engages as his compadre the angel of death, for it was by Satan's instigated sin in the free-willed man Adam that death entered into the world and death came to all. Mortality was never part of God's plan, his perfect plan for developing the human family. But even so, God was not caught unaware, since he had already made plans to counteract the insidious deeds of the devil. Those who have repented and received Christ and his imparted righteousness and have become what the Bible calls bond slaves of Christ. To discover the meaning of that word, we'll have to go back to the Pentateuch, reading in Exodus 21:5 through 6. But the indentured slave may declare, I love my master, my wife, and my children. I don't want to go free. If he does this, his master must present him before God, and then his master must take him to the door or the doorpost and publicly pierce his ear with an awl. After that, the slave will serve his master for life. When we receive the Lord as the master of our lives, and because of our love for him, in effect, we become his bond slaves for life, or as we began with in the Roman passage, slaves to righteousness. Now listen carefully to those words of Jesus himself in Matthew 16:24 through 26. Then Jesus said to his disciples, if any of you wants to be my follower, you must turn from your selfish ways, take up your cross, follow me. If you try hanging on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you will save it. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul? Is anything worth more than your soul? And he confirms this contract in Matthew 10:38 and 39. If you refuse to take up your cross and follow me, you are not worthy of being mine. If you cling to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for me, you will find it. Paul records the condition of our bonds covenant with Jesus in Romans 6:22. But since you have been set free from sin and have become enslaved to God, you have your fruit, which results in sanctification, and the outcome of it is eternal life. The fruit of sanctification is found in the attributes of Christ that are now part of our new nature: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And with a change of mindset that will embrace these attributes, as we learn to endorse them in our daily lives, we'll find the change coming, sanctification. Here is the real question. Have we really submitted to the Spirit's sanctification as true bond servants of Jesus?